meeting for August 17th, 2021 to order at 5 p.m. Let's see here. I'm on the wrong page. All right, let's have a roll call, please. And remember, we have to say your name and where you are currently located and attending from. So how about Dana? You go first.
Present, I'm in Kalamazoo at the Stewart Avenue Inn.
Dan?
Present, I'm here in Kalamazoo on Frank Street.
Okay. Andrew?
Present here in Kalamazoo.
John?
Here, City of Kalamazoo.
Right, I'm Jeremy. I'm here, City of Kalamazoo, Parkland Village. All right, approval of the agenda. Sharon, is there any amendments to the agenda that we need to know about?
No, there are not.
Okay. Can I have is there a motion, I should say, to approve the agenda?
So moved.
Thank you, Dana. Do we have a second?
Second, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew. All those in favor will say aye.
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 Any opposed? All right, hearing none, the agenda is approved. Introduction of guests. Do we have any guests who are here that are not part of the hearings today? I believe the answer is no, but okay. Is there any public comment on non-agenda items?
There are no public comments at this time.
Great. All right, Sharon, would you be so kind as to read the disclaimer, please?
Yep. Historical preservation is a public purpose. To serve that purpose, the Historic District Commission is hereby charged with the following responsibilities. A, the Kalamazoo Historic District Commission is empowered to regulate work on the exterior of historic resources and non-historic resources in historic districts in the city of Kalamazoo, and shall otherwise have all powers invested in historic district commissions pursuant to the Local Historic District Act, MCLA 399.201, 1970, PA 169 as amended 1992. B, to regulate work on resources which by city ordinance are historic or non-historic resources located within local historic districts, including but not limited to the moving of a structure into or out of or the building of any structure in an historic district. The following documents are available in the Community Planning and Economic Development Department located at 245 North Rose Street. These documents will help assist property owners in understanding the responsibilities of owning property in a local historic district. MCLA 399.201, 1970, PA 169 as amended 1992, Michigan Local Historic District Act, the Code of Ordinance of the City of Kalamazoo, Michigan, Chapter 16, Historic District, the Secretary of the Interior Standards for Rehabilitation and Guidelines for Rehabilitating Historic Buildings, 1990, Standards and Guidelines for Kalamazoo Historic Districts, and maps of Kalamazoo's local historic districts. These documents and maps are also available on the City of Kalamazoo website at kalamazooCity.org/historic preservation.
Thank you, Sharon. All right, moving into business, there is no old business, so we'll move on to new business. First on the docket is 422 Stewart Avenue. So could we have whoever's going to present for 422, please feel free to explain your project.
Okay, I think that would be you, Bruce.
We can't hear you, Bruce. Say, Bruce, it looks like you're talking, but we can't hear you.
Hello. Hi. Okay. Okay, sounds good. Bye. That's Stucky. So we're doing really good here. So did we figure it out?
I don't know. We can't hear Bruce.
Hey, Andy or Amanda, can you help us? We can't hear one of our participants.
Bruce, is your microphone turned on? I see you're unmuted.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yes,
Okay. Good. I guess whatever happened, happened. Yeah, the clients at 422 Stewart, the Wilsons, we remodeled their kitchen sometime back and they approached us, or they mentioned at that time they wanted to do some work on the porch. They had apparently had that porch floor replaced about 10 or 11 years ago. I'm not sure who did it, but as you probably have seen in the pictures, it's in pretty bad shape already. Now, they did have a leaking gutter, which contributed to the problem, and that's been repaired. But what we were looking for was to replace the flooring with something that looked right but was more durable. And that's where we came up with the Aratus. What we're proposing to use is a Traditions, which is their 3 1/4, so it's the same size as what's there. And it's a paintable PVC, a paintable solid PVC product.
leaking gutter explains something, okay. So the gutter problem has been solved then?
Correct.
Okay,
Although the wood rot is worse where the gutter was leaking, but it's kind of all the way across the porch. So
yeah, and I can see even the base of some of the columns are in pretty rough shape too.
they're starting to go.
Well, you can see from my photo page C that this is when the work was done. 2006 was when the deck was replaced. And they replaced everything below, well, all the square parts of the columns they replaced and left
Yeah.
the bead and stuff hanging in place and reused that.
And that's
So-
kind of what we were thinking to do if that proves to be necessary. It's just the bottom square part.
Okay. And that part would still be wood.
Yes.
Okay. But oh, what's that one type of wood that's not so great? No poplar. Is it tulip poplar that can be, yeah. Anyway,
Yeah, I would probably try to use cedar for that if we could.
yeah, cedar's what we usually recommend for the front part of any of the house for any sort of replacement wood, because it's so
We'd have to
naturally
glue
rotten.
something up, but that's not a problem. So
Yeah,
and then on the stair treads, we were thinking to use a universal porch plank, which is a 6-inch wide. And it does come in a paint ready product as well.
no, so that would also be a synthetic. You wouldn't use the Aratus for that?
It's the same material.
The same
It's
company?
just instead of being the 3 1/4 inch tongue and groove, it's a solid plank.
I
What is
remember Aratus before it was called something else and it was made in the South and it did not perform well up here in Michigan at all. We had one porch where the boards after about 5 or 6 years were curling out of position, but this product now is made up in New England. So they've got, I think they've got a handle on the cold issue.
Well, and from what I can figure out, it's very similar to AZAC. It's a solid PVC product now, which is why we can route that bull nose on the front edge if we want to, at least with the Traditions, because that's not capped. So it's just it's kind of a solid all the way straight through material.
So it used to be that their formula was a combination composite product that included I believe some wood in the blend.
I think so. And, you know, historically, we've used some of those products and we refuse to use them. We'll use AZEK or TimberTech, and that's about it right now because anything with any wood in it just seems to eventually have problems.
So do you, commissioners, do you have any questions about this or that you want to ask about? This would be the first use of this product in Kalamazoo's historic districts. The previous one that I mentioned was done without approval and was taken out and replaced with Ipe about 10 years ago. So
I have a question. When it was replaced in 2006, what was it replaced with? Do you know?
according, it was done to our standards, so it was vertical grain Douglas fir.
Okay.
Okay, so yeah,
Yeah, I can't speak to that, you know, without opening up a fresh piece of wood. I can't really tell by the rotted area and I can't tell by the painted area. So I don't know what it is. Just as a humorous aside, I haven't found actually where to purchase this. Lowe's was listed on their website, and I called Lowe's, and after going around with the fellow 3 times, he kept thinking it was erotic decking. He couldn't quite figure out what I was going to do with erotic decking.
okay.
So I did take a look at the porch. Is it your opinion that it was the gutter issue that caused the water to pool and rot the wood that was there? Or was it just natural wear and tear and moisture?
It was both. I mean, where the gutter was leaking, it's obviously much worse,
Uh-huh.
but it is going elsewhere as well.
Yeah, it's along this whole south edge.
It doesn't appear to have been oil primed. I'm not saying that it wasn't, but just the appearance and looking at that degradation doesn't appear that it was originally oil primed. I know the gutter was a huge contributing factor.
You think that would have made a big difference if they'd done the oil priming?
Well, with that amount of water, that volume of
Yeah.
water in there, not much is going to make much of a difference. There was obviously a large volume of water for a significant length of time that was hitting that area.
And it may have been entirely painted after it was installed, so in the joints it may have been raw wood. You know, I don't know, but that's a good guess.
Yeah, we realized you didn't have any part of the original installation or the 2006 installation.
Right. So this would, like I said, this would be the first application of this product, which of course does not mean that just because it's approved for use on one project, that it can automatically be approved for other projects.
Thank you.
That's-
That was my question, because
Nope.
I'd like to see how this stuff behaves, how it looks. But I'm on the fence whether that gives like carte blanche and a case history of where, right, and that's what
It still would have to be approved each time. Now, Bruce, have you ever worked with this before?
No, I was just going to say, I would like to state that we have no experience with this product. We kind of were looking for some alternative and came across this. We do use a lot of AZEK, and like I say, this seems to be a very similar product to AZEK in its
But
competition.
AZEK you can't walk on, right? It's not load bearing?
That's correct.
Okay. Have you looked into, I mean, I don't know how much this is going to cost, but have you looked into Ipe wood? It's a relatively small porch, and Ipe would probably last at least a half century or more.
You think it will hold paint well?
It won't need to be painted. It doesn't need to be painted.
Well, but
It's
part
a
of our
naturally
goal was to
dark
kind
color.
of keep this look, because they've got that color scheme going on. I mean, if we're not set on painting it to blue, then I'm certainly open to looking at Ipe. I assumed that we wanted to keep the blue floor.
The Ipe is a similar color, a little deeper to the color of the brick on the house when it's in place. So it's a dark brownish, reddish brownish type of.
Yeah,
color.
we've used Ipe before.
Yeah,
I just
so you know.
simply didn't consider it because I assumed we wanted to maintain the color scheme. You know,
Yeah,
the
the-
railing has some blue in it. The columns have some blue on them.
Right. right.
So
But then
if
you
we're
wouldn't have-
open to changing, I could certainly suggest that to the clients and see if they're interested in changing. They would be the ones to say, you know,
Yeah.
yes, we want to keep it
And-
blue or.
And that comes in the same proportions as this stuff does. It's, the Ipe is currently on the front porch, which is only marginally smaller than this, at 213 Elm Street, if you want to see how it looks when it's applied. And that's about, what, 2 blocks, a block from here, Dana?
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
they may want to see it, 213 Elm,
Yeah. It's 213 Elm on the front porch.
Ipe on Elm.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And it's tongue and groove, and it's very handsome. It looks wonderful. don't
But,
need
but
to paint it.
you as the historic commission would be okay with not maintaining the blue color?
Oh, we don't, the Historic Commission does not deal with paint, paving, or plants. So the
Okay.
color is entirely the owner's choice.
Okay.
So I
So-
mean, they could paint it in rainbow colors and we wouldn't say anything about it.
Hmm.
So I
it-
just did a quick Google about Ipe wood, and it doesn't look like it takes paint very well at all.
No, I don't think it does. It's kind of
It
got
has
some,
a natural.
It's very resinous.
Right, but it also looks beautiful, and I've seen pictures of stuff that was installed in San Francisco like 25 years ago, and it's still looking just gorgeous.
Is there-
yeah, well, and I'd certainly be open to asking the client that. I guess I'd still like to go ahead and see if the Doratus could be approved at least. Otherwise, if they say, no, we'd rather paint it blue, I don't want to have to come back and, you know, do another round.
Sharon, can you zoom in on the lower left picture? Does it have some sort of OG trim board on the edge?
No,
No.
it does. It's along the left edge, that piece of it is coming off. It doesn't have any trim underneath the leading edge.
But that left edge, it looks like,
No, it's a piece that's falling off.
I think it's just a small piece that was ripped down to get the layout and the overhang.
And I see what you're saying is right underneath there. It almost looks like
Oh,
there's a
under
little
there?
piece of trim.
well,
Okay.
just like, yeah. Okay,
It looks
Yeah,
like there's
there's
a
a,
little piece, a little piece of trim under
There
there.
does seem to be a bit piece of trim at one time there.
Yeah, what we usually like, either an OG or a little bit of a quarter round under that edge, just for one thing, it can keep moisture out. You attach it to the deck, the bottom of the deck, and then it floats up and down and keeps moisture out from that seam above the apron board. So, but, okay.
is there any more commentary or questions? I'll make a motion if there is.
I was gonna say, John, I personally haven't seen this product before. I
I
like that
haven't
you,
used this. I've used plenty of the composites. I actually like them. They come a long way. I'm not familiar with this one whatsoever. But I'm a fan of them in certain situations. I'd actually be interested to see how this behaves. It looks like it's going to be well thought out and professionally installed. And
Yeah.
since we're not giving carte blanche to the future on this, I mean, it's a per case basis when we do this. I'm ready to make a motion if there's any other questions or commentary. Otherwise, I'll make a motion on it.
yeah, I'll just say, I like that you can paint it. I sort of suspect what John suspects, that the installation was done incorrectly. I mean, this just seems crazy that it would rot like this, but
The gutter, that amount, that volume of water is what one of the factors.
sure.
Yeah, if you see the
The
gutter
gutter.
along that edge,
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a new half round, looks like copper. I did visit the site, but I didn't walk right up on the porch. And it appears to be ventilated, which is another huge factor, but the ventilation appears to be there.
Okay. Is there any other comments from commissioners or questions before John makes his motion?
What's the product? What's the product name?
Just choose. It's Aeratus, AERATIS.
Yeah, I haven't heard use that one either, but I kind of agree with John. Everything he says, I would agree with and echo.
So, I had a similar water issue with my porch because I did not have gutters on it. And the replacement wood was cedar. And where the water would come off my roof onto the step, it kind of did the same rotting damage. But where it wasn't indirect contact, it didn't rot like this. So I would think that if you just redid it in just standard cedar and then sealed it with an oil paint, now that you have the gutters in place, I don't think this kind of damage would happen again. And then I would just say personally, I would much rather see that than some sort of plastic composite.
Yeah, the only issue with that is it is showing damage elsewhere where the gutter wasn't leaking. The gutter leak was confined to one end there.
Wait, could you know which end it was, Bruce?
It was that left end.
So this edge, so the damage we're seeing on here midway, and this is the right end, this is the south end, and this is the south end.
Yeah, that was not to do with the gutter.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
But it is exposed more and the porch faces west, so it does get, that outside edge does get rained on fairly frequently. Beyond that, I don't know. I can't say.
All right.
What do you know, Bruce, about this product? Is it considered a green product or a recycled product, or is it all fully manufactured with?
I don't know that. I haven't looked into that. I didn't see anything on the website saying it was recycled. Most of the PVC products are new, are not recycled, as far as I know.
That would be my only real druthers about, synthetic, is that are you affecting environmentally? Is it a poor choice to start making that a precedent? But other than that,
Yeah, I think that's a valid point. I'll be honest, just for I feel the same way about ePay. I mean, that comes from a long ways away from here, and
But it was never
it's a
used-
lot of
it was never used
work to get here. So
Yeah.
What about Cypress?
Cypress is good stuff, but I don't think that
Cypress.
was years back around.
Well, it doesn't have to be that, it just has to be something that's gonna last.
Right.
Same way we could,
But that's kind of my thinking though, too. I mean, when the ePay to this, I mean, it's ePay was never used in that era whatsoever.
right, they didn't bring it up here for that, I mean, Cypress, there's.
So I'd
there's-
rather see this, I'm gonna make a motion. How's that? Can I make a motion or is it?
Wait, I have a question. So Sharon, as I read the regulations, we have to find that applicant has established that the replacement with the traditional historical product is not possible. So that would be cedar or
Well, no, not necessarily not possible,
Mm.
but that what we normally recommend, which is the vertical grain Douglas fir, has failed in this case. They tried it and it has failed.
Okay, all right.
For whatever reason. But it's not, when we make a choice for a replacement material, we always look for, if it's historic material, which this is not, we look for the condition of the historic material and try to keep that if possible. This isn't historic material, so that step
Okay,
is kind of dropped. But we do need to consider whether this will have, visually will have the same appearance as the historic material would have had. And I know there's a porch down on Bellevue Place too. I think it's 955 that they did tongue and groove cypress about the same time as this was done, actually maybe a couple years earlier. And it still looks absolutely spectacular.
Cypress is beautiful.
Yeah. Still looks really, really good.
Great stuff.
So, I mean, I think there's some choices besides the Aratus that would still stay in the range of being a wood and would hold up, rather than necessarily use the Aratus.
Did they paint the cypress or was it left?
Yeah, they painted
alone?
it. Yeah, they painted it. I don't think they painted it right away, but they did paint it. Yes. Because it was a student rental and you can't just stain that because they get filthy with students in there.
This has been changed out.
They do on the website, they do have, I mean, this is their advertising, of course, but they do have pictures, comparison pictures showing the wood and the Aratus together. I mean, they do claim it is historically very accurate in appearance.
And I would have to agree
Whatever
with
that's worth.
because
but-
I teach classes in alternative materials to historic district commissions all over the country. In fact, I'm going to be doing one next Tuesday. And the Aratus literally will fit in next to a piece of 5/4 tongue and groove. You know, what's available today, it will fit in. They will, you know, you don't want to mix them because the expansion contraction ratio is bad, but they literally physically, it's a very strong physical resemblance. Now, the only difference is that, and I've discussed this with Bruce already, is that on a wooden porch deck, we want those outer edges to be bullnosed to promote drainage. And so we would like that same appearance on this deck. If we could get it, you can see that there was a little bit of bullnosing done even on this old deck. So, you know, and my understanding from Aratus was that it used to be that you couldn't shape it at all. You had to add a piece of half round on the outer edge to give the appearance of bullnosing, which I didn't like because any seam is a place where problems start happening. So, you ready with that?
Yeah, I'll make a motion.
So I'm so sorry. Interjecting again. I mean, Sharon, do you, what is your opinion on this? Like, because, you know, in my heart, again, I'm thinking there are, you know, other historic materials available that you could use. You could use cedar, you could use cypress, ipe, but not paint it. So that doesn't seem, you know, like a great solution. But I mean, it seems like, even though there's no precedent, you know, we don't have to allow everyone to use this. It seems like we could very easily slip into approving that every round. So I'm super hesitant to do the first one, right? I mean, is your opinion that it's a fine replacement? Or
I haven't seen it in action, except like I mentioned that old one when they made it in Mississippi. It was called Tendura back then. I haven't seen it in action locally in Kalamazoo. I saw it over in, not Southfield, Bloomfield Hills, I think I was teaching a class. And it looked good, but the installation was only 2 years old. So I can't really say what it's going to look like, you know, several years down the road. And of course, in the historic district, we wear goggles that look 50 years into the future. We don't just say, okay, as soon as the warranty's over, it can fall apart. We'd like to have something that's going to last with the house as long as it can. So, you know, I think that there's a couple of really good wooden alternatives, both the cypress, which Woodsmiths locally made for that owner down on Bellevue, or the ipe, which comes formed as tongue and groove. And if you don't have it, Bruce, I can supply you with I've got a sample box of it under my, don't ask why, dining room table. But I could you know, share that with you. I think that there's some really good alternatives here, and that the Aratus might be like our last choice if nothing else was available. But I think we've got some fairly good alternatives available locally that would be, you know, could be used instead of the Aratus. But that's you guys, you make the decision. You get paid the big bucks for it.
Well, is there any way to put that in there? Because if I make a motion to approve and then it's not approved, which is obviously possible, are they out and they have to resubmit, or then can we agree to an alternative material? You know?
Well, the
Or should I
thing
just
is
go
that-
ahead and make the
The
motion.
thing is that either one of the wood materials would only need an administrative approval from me.
Okay.
Okay, the only thing we have to,
Gotcha.
the commission would have to approve would be the use of the Aratus as an alternative material. The others would just be, if it's clear that it needs to be replaced, and I could just approve either cypress or ipe or cedar, I could just approve that, you know, administratively right away.
I have a suggestion. So what if we were to approve the Aratus for the steps, but not the porch? The steps are more exposed to the elements. It would give us an opportunity to see how they hold up, but yet we would retain the, you know, the wood for the actual structure. Let's split the baby.
Yeah, the only issue with that is I'm sourcing, you know, 3 boards, which is probably going to be a little problematic because there's not a local distributor. I'm going to have to order it direct from somewhere.
Okay.
I see your point though, Dana.
And I don't mind. I see where you're going. You'd like to have an
Yeah.
experiment, but not an entire porch experiment. For us, it's logistically a little bit more hassle, and I'm open to doing whatever. Just our experience with wood, whether it's cedar, cypress, whatever. I mean, we've done cedar decks before, and no, they don't hold up.
Yeah, unless you can get heartwood, which is a lot more expensive.
Yeah,
Yeah, and we thought this might be a much more permanent solution. But if you decide you'd rather do cypress or cedar, I'm fine with that. It's just we were trying to find something that would be more, have a longer life for the clients.
Well, I'm gonna make a motion and see where it goes, but if I can get to read it, if I can get my phone to turn it back around. So
Wait a minute, here we go.
I can read it off here. I make a motion that we approve the erratas for the treads. I don't know if it includes risers or not, but and the porch decking material based on Secretary of Interior Standards for Rehabilitation number 10. And I'm not going to read all number 10 out.
You don't need to. And number 6. You need to see up here on the screen.
All right, and number 6.
Yep. The commission approves the certificate of appropriateness for this project. Approval of any final details will be delegated to the coordinator.
You want me to read that out?
Okay.
That's
Okay.
All right, thank you, John. Is there a second or support for John's motion?
no.
I'll second the motion. Andrew.
All right, thank you, Andrew. Is there any further discussion before, all right, I think we have to ask for public comment. Is that right? I always forget. Is there any public comment on this case?
There are no public comments at this time.
All right. Any further discussion from commissioners before the vote?
No, just yeah, a small one. The reasoning is existing material was put out in 06, so that's obviously not original. Now, I don't know how it was installed. I doubt that it was oil primed the way, if at all, it should have been. And then the gutters obviously were a contributing factor to all that deterioration. Does that mean that if you put Douglas fir back up and do all that correctly, that it would fail again? No, it's just an unknown. But I'm not opposed, obviously, to the erratas because I just made the motion to approve, and I'd kind of like to see what it does there. And I think it's going to be professionally installed in something that's gonna last. Whether I like it 2 years from now or not, or whether I like it when it's installed, I don't know. But I'm willing to see this installed on this house.
Great, thank you, John. Any other discussion? Okay. Casey, can we have a roll call vote, please?
Eric,
no, I need to know more about the product at this point. No,
Jeremy,
I'm gonna say no.
John,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Dana,
No.
Dan,
No.
Okay, next step, Sharon.
Next step is a lack of approval does not constitute a denial. Therefore, we would need, if that is the commission's intent, we would need a new motion to deny the application. And then vote as we just did.
So if you don't deny the application, you can administratively approve some of these materials
Oh.
between Cedar, so we're good.
No,
So
actually,
it would not stop them from moving forward. on
no,
the project.
they could
That's
move
fine.
ahead with either
Okay,
the,
That's all I
subs-
need to know.
yeah, they could move ahead with either the substitute woods if we don't do anything else. Yes. It's a cleaner record if there's actually a denial, that's all.
I'll make a motion that we don't approve it. Let me read, yeah, scroll up for me there.
Number 2. There we go. This one.
Um,
No, the last one.
Yeah, I make a motion that we deny based on the Secretary of Interior Standards 1 through 6.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Is there a,
I'll
all
second the motion.
right, thank you, Dana. Any discussion before we vote?
I mean, if it's an issue for these guys of, they're doing a lot of other renovations and it's a budgeting thing as far as the material, is there any way you could get a sample of that somehow and compare, or just at least see what the stuff's gonna look like compared to your,
Well, that's the thing today, Stuckey, is that I literally have samples of this, but I can't share it with you. You know, the pictures that I included in the packet are clearer than what I would get showing them to you on the computer. So I
Mhm.
would have stuff I'd be able to pass around, as well as the ePay I'd be able to just pass around, but not meeting in person.
Yeah,
Just don't have that.
well, sure, yeah.
I would like to just clarify that it's not a budget issue. I actually don't expect that this stuff is any less than wood. It may well be more.
It is. It's about more than twice, roughly.
Oh, really? Wow.
Last time I priced it out, yeah. I think that actually the Cypress and Ipe and Eratus are going to be relatively similar in cost. With the Cypress maybe being slightly lower. So,
And Bruce, I'm assuming you did confirm it was vertical grain Doug fir that was on
We
there?
did
Or
not,
that's
without
assumption?
actually doing some dissection of the porch floor. It's without,
I did check the old records though, and they did build it according to our standards. And that specifies vertical grain Douglas fir. So by the time I saw it when it was done, it was already painted, so I can't absolutely certify that's what it was, but that end grain looks like it to me.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on denying the application. Casey, could we have a roll call vote? So just to be clear, an affirmative would be to deny.
Eric,
Casey, please. Oh, sorry.
This isn't a flat out denial of the product. This is just the project. This is just the specific product, correct?
Correct. Yes, correct.
I guess why don't I abstain? Because I just don't know enough about it at this point to feel like I can can I do that?
Sure.
Okay, I'll abstain.
Unless everybody does it, then we're gonna be back to the beginning again.
Jeremy,
Yes.
Andrew,
Yes.
Dana,
Yes,
Dan,
Yes.
and John.
I'm gonna qualify my yes vote, because the standards that are out there now, or say either side, you can justify the case. So what's being presented right now, it is a yes vote, even though I'd prefer to see the Eratus on this project. So yes.
Motion passes. Okay, so Bruce, this is what happens next is tomorrow, I will generate a letter that will go to you and you can share it with the owners, with the Wilsons. And if you do decide to go either back with vertical grain Doug fir that's oil primed, or you want to go with the Ipe or cedar or cypress, I can approve that administratively.
okay,
So just let me know which one to do and I can just approve it and you'll be ready to roll.
okay. And just to clarify, you're okay if I were to offer them the unfinished Ipe alternative? Okay,
Absolutely.
all right.
yeah.
I will discuss that with the client and we'll get back with you.
Great.
Appreciate all of your time
Yes, thank you.
and we'll
Thank
go
you.
from there.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Okay, next up is 207 West Vine Street.
I'm just going to scroll down to photos. And Aaron is here. This is a house. I'm going to give you guys just a little bit of background on it. This house was probably the most problematic house I had for the first decade I worked for the city, because the owner just wouldn't take care of it. It was a rental issue. It was a bunch of different things. He finally, after tearing the chimney out, he finally sold it, or it went back to a foreclosure or something like that. Kalamazoo Neighborhood Housing Services took ownership of it. And then they realized that the work that it needed was beyond what they could do. And it came to the Historic District Commission, and it was approved for demolition at that point in time, even though it would be an expensive demolition because it's on such a tight lot. Another buyer bought it from Kalamazoo Neighborhood Housing Services for a very minuscule amount of money, and then started doing some of the work on it and sold it to someone else. And then the current owner bought it from that last person who tried to finish some of the work, but just couldn't wrap their arms around what needed to be done. So this has a whole long story behind it. Aaron has only owned it for 2 months, I think. Is that about right?
Yep, that's correct.
So all the deterioration you see definitely precedes him. You know, I haven't seen anything more happen other than a few paint flakes. He's owned the house. So, but he's working with this now, and so he's got this proposal. So Aaron, tell us.
Yeah, so thanks for the introduction on the house. It's definitely a problematic house. Like I remember back, like when I went to college in town and lived in the Vine, driving by, I was like, oh, that's an ugly house. And then you can see it kind of fixed up a little bit, but not really. And just over time, and then eventually it just kind of came to me. I had the opportunity to buy it, and I was like, you know what? I just finished up a project on the east side where it was a full renovation down to the studs, built back up, siding, everything, literally everything in that house. And was like, you know what, let's buy this house down in the Vine neighborhood and let's kind of fix this thing up again. So, before even buying this, I called Sharon and talked with her about it. I said, hey, what am I getting myself into? I just wanted to make sure that, I kind of understood, what the historic rules and, had a little bit better understanding of what needed to happen. And then, I felt comfortable with that. And because I feel comfortable with the inside renovations, but the exterior, which is what we're here to focus on, is kind of that other factor, X factor, right? I mean, you can see as we scroll through these pictures that the material used by prior owners was definitely not the right material. And the neglect that prior owners have had with this property, you can see that the paint is in really rough condition, and also a lot of the wood is in really rough condition. And I purchased this property, I think it was back in like middle of June or so, and I started calling, just calling people, because the longer this thing sits, the worse it's going to get, really. And I started calling painters, different construction crews, and I've called upwards of 6 to 8. And I feel like I have a decent network in Kalamazoo. And either I was told flat out, no, they don't want to work on something like this, or they say, oh yeah, we'll go take a look at it. And then they don't get back with you. You follow up, and then they say kind of, oh, I didn't get a chance to look at it. And then they still don't follow up. And you kind of get that pattern where it's like, they're softly telling you no. So that kind of brings us to where I'm at today, where, I've been trying to, what are all the historic features that I want to keep? Because I really do think that it's important that historic features are kept. It's awesome driving through downtown neighborhoods and seeing all of the historic, presence that they have and the feeling that it gives. But sometimes I think with this one, we're kind of at this point where we might have to pivot to a new direction based on prior circumstances. And basically through conversations with other professionals, most of them would equate more than 50% of the exterior of this building to be not suitable for repair and most likely wouldn't hold paint. And it's hard to tell, going up without going up on a ladder, you know, and like really getting into it. But I mean, you can see from most of these pictures, it's really, really poor condition. And yeah, so basically the proposal that brings us today was basically to, you know, do vinyl siding over this wood with a high quality product that's 0.044 mils or greater. So, you know, it's going to be a durable product, and build out the windows to keep the same kind of aesthetic, keep the same depth with the windows and the current siding or the new siding that we'll be putting on. And so there's a place for the J channel to go in, and we would not be using any metal clad with that. The idea right now is to build them out with wood, keeping the same square cuts, no angled miter cuts, but just square cuts, and kind of try to keep as much as we possibly can with the historic details that this has. So that was a lot, I know, but I definitely would love to field some questions and kind of talk through the project with you guys.
Thank you, Aaron. Questions from commissioners, comments?
Yeah, I'll do a comment. It's not even close to paint, so if you, it's doable for putting siding back on there. I don't know, is that a 4-inch? Do you know what, is that a 4-inch or a 6-inch exposure on that, or 3 3/4? It's 4-inch. You can get cedar. It's been finger jointed, but it's good quality cedar out of Woodwork Specialties. To me, it all looks repairable. It's doable, but it's going to be a lot of work. But to me, everything, there might be a little stud working back there, some of the 1x sheathing, but to me, it all looks doable to repair the siding and replace.
Aaron, I got a question for you. Is your concern that the enforcement team has got 10 years of pent up annoyance with this property and that they're going to make it land on you because it still looks like a mess? Is that part of your concern?
Yeah, that's definitely part of it. So I've actually talked with
Rachel.
Rachel, I had I called her the other day. I've called her a couple times and talked with her, and I've actually walked John through the property as well before. And yeah, that's definitely one of the concerns that I have with it. And I mean, in the last, was it 6 or 7 years, there's been six owners. So that's a pretty tough thing. And her problem, she was telling me, is that what happens is that the owners will keep it for a year or a year and a half, and then the city will start like a legal proceeding against them. So then when the 2-year mark comes up, they can like file action, or I don't know specifics, but that was what she was explaining to me. And then they just sell it. And nothing ever happens. And this house never gets fixed up.
Mm-hmm. Well, I mean, you can see substantial work went on the inside. I've got pictures from before, so there has been work done.
I don't know anything about the inside.
Yep. So, and that's not our purview anyway. So, because Rachel did tell me that once you get a plan going and you get started, that all those monthly fees can be waived and they can disappear. So, and I'm wondering, I have a question for those of you who know this application of vinyl siding better than I do, is if he sided it in this condition, even repairing what needs to be repaired so we get an even surface, would that siding possibly get in the way of the repairs that need to be made on the front porch, the repairs that need to be made in the eaves, the repairs to this porch to bring it up to level and stuff? It seems to me that siding, like paint, should be the last thing that's done to the exterior after everything is level and repaired, rather than the first thing that's done. And I don't know enough about siding to know whether that's an issue, but I could see that, you know, on this little porch that's been converted to a bathroom, that if there's siding up there sitting nice and tight and well applied, it's going to make it harder to make some of the other repairs that need to be made around that porch.
Yeah, and like we would definitely do all of like any framing, any like structural impact first, and like make so the surface, like that's definitely going to be like the first thing that we do. But before I even touched it, I kind of wanted to go down this route before.
Yeah, because I mean, you've got to repair this pier.
Yeah.
That's masonry work, and then you've got to jack up the porch to make it level, and then that's going to have to be even up there.
A lot of that paint appears to be latex that was put on without any primer. I think a lot of from a, I did stop by the property and then viewing the photos. Well, there, you know, it's gonna be so, I think that can clean up. But to me, it looks repairable with 4-inch beveled siding, wood siding. And it could look really sharp. I mean, I don't like seeing those vertical joints every second course there all lined up together, but that's
Yeah.
that's not a deal killer if those were
Well,
salvageable.
this is a,
Hardy board or something.
yeah, it's
isn't it?
hardy board, it's textured hardy board, so that's
So I
gonna
was
go
gonna
away.
ask Sharon, is
Those
that
joints will still be
something
there.
that we
That original
approve?
siding, if you replace that hardy board, you're still gonna have that joint structure. That's not a deal killer.
Eric? Or
I
Stuckey?
would, sorry, I didn't mean to, but is that something that the hardy board that would have, he can keep that, or does he have to
No.
take that off?
No, if that would be, if Aaron decided to go ahead and, you know, work on the interior and take care of the exterior next year and go with the wood and paint it, the hardy would have to come off and appropriate wooden siding would have to.
So that's,
Keep
hardy
it.
board is not something that we generally approve then?
Not when it's mixed in with the regular wood.
I see,
A
I
couple
see.
times we have approved hardy to go on an entire side of a house,
Okay,
but not
Mhm.
mixed in like this, mixing.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah,
an outstanding
yeah.
violation.
yep,
So,
okay.
We've also approved it in the past on an addition.
yes, on addition.
That's
right.
Okay, yeah, which.
Oh, just as a
you know,
point of reference, Eric, that's all.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it can look really good. I'm not sure if I agree with the durability on it that some people think, but that's my opinion. So,
As long as they don't get snow sitting against it, it works pretty good.
Austin, Dana here. I feel your pain about trying to get contractors. Do you have a sense that they don't want to touch this because there's lead paint and they'd have to be involved in the remediation, or it's too big a job, they're too busy?
too much work. It's too much work. They don't want to do it.
All of that, literally, it's all of it. It's not only, I mean, a lot of these old houses have lead-based paint on it, right? A lot of people don't want to touch something in this condition because the amount of work that goes into it, from what I've understood. I mean, they're not going to come out and tell you, hey, I don't want to do this because of the work, but they'll go look at it and be like, that's not something. And I honestly, I don't know who else to go to talk to that would take on a job like this. I've called and I've done, like, I'm a pretty resourceful person, and I've talked to a lot of different people. I got a few different projects going around town, and I've been able to find, you know, people to work on those. But this one has just really been like the kryptonite. Like I cannot find anyone, and I've called at least 8, 9, 10 people.
Okay, so assuming that, you know, I were to agree with you that this has to be, something new has to be put there, I guess I'm not clear why you immediately went to vinyl and why you haven't considered the two different versions of the cedar or hardy board.
Yes. So one thing, I mean, is going to be like, finding somebody to even so I can find someone to put up, like, I got to have the hardy board taken down. And the prior person, one of the prior owners probably put this on probably 20% of the house, maybe because
Right.
it's the back of it.
I saw that.
So, I mean, from a cost perspective, I mean, because of what they did is they put this hardy board up thinking that no one was going to notice, that they were just going to paint over it before anyone saw it. And that didn't happen. So to remove that, put new board up. Okay, that's one thing. But to find somebody then that's going to be, they're going to have to be lead certified to come back. And even the person who does the contract work that puts the board up is going to have to be EPA certified, right? So
There's plenty of them.
Yeah, I mean, seriously,
Just about every
this
building.
law's been in place since 2010. If they're not EPA certified by now, I wouldn't hire
Right.
them anyway,
Yeah,
because they're not being professional.
right.
So,
yeah, for sure. And I definitely understand that. But I mean, I don't know who else would come and do this. I've called all of the people on the list that was
Yep.
provided. None of them got, I should say, one of them I think told me no. The other ones, I've called them 3 times or so, and eventually they just stopped. They recognized my number, I think, and they just stopped answering. So I mean, it's one thing I think to say like, oh yeah, we can, it's doable. It is for sure. I mean, I could go out there and I could do this work. Like I have the ability to do it. I don't have the certifications. I couldn't do it. Like I can't do that from a lead's perspective. If the-
Actually, to be honest, and I've been studying lead for a long time, if you own the building, you can do it yourself with no certification.
and you don't have to notify the city or state.
No.
Nope, you just for your own for your own health, I would use lead safe work practices. But if you are the owner, you do not need to have the lead certification. It's only an 8-hour class and you'll be bored to death for 6 hours of it. But it's easy to use lead safe work practice. So if you were doing it yourself, if you were paying someone to work with you, then you'd have to have them lead certified. But if
And
you're doing
that's-
it yourself, you could do it.
That's the
without-
problem. Then I mean, one person I can't. I mean, like realistically, the time it would take is just not reasonable. And I think others have demonstrated this turnover of this house is like they get into it, they buy it, they're like, try to do it, and they can't for some reason or another. And my thought is that this is one of those problems that kept coming up, and I never wanted to bring it, bring another alternative.
Yeah, and it's got some split ones here and there, but.
And like, if you would go up to this site and you look at a lot of the boards, so you can't see in these pictures, but a lot of them have like dry rot on, and they're like, there's a lot more to this that would need to be replaced than you can see here. And I think that's maybe if the people did go and look, like the other painters, the framers, the people I was calling construction crews, they were going there and looking at it. They saw that and they're like, we're not interested in doing that.
So
Well, I did go look at your property and, if it were my property, my druthers would be to strip all the siding off and replace it with cedar siding.
Yeah, and we had one owner that wanted to do that, and what he ended up doing was heat stripping all of it, just replacing what was damaged. And that house has not been painted in, I think we gave it an award in 2004 for that, and it still is looking pretty darn nice. Northwest corner of Minor and Westnedge, and it looks just absolutely spectacular. No, I mean, Aaron, I think personally, having dealt with the enforcement team before, I think your best bet is to have a thorough plan on what you want to do. Everything staged out so that by doing part of the work, you're not making it harder to do the second part of the work. Like fixing the porch before you do anything with the siding and the flashing, that type of thing, because that's going to have to be jacked up and that floor is going to need to be replaced and all those things. Just get your whole plan in place. And then even if the commission approves vinyl siding, wait until spring to actually apply it and talk to Rachel and everybody to keep her up to date. That gives you all winter to work on the inside and get that up and done. And maybe you could contract with someone to be available next spring that would not be available now to do a quick job for you. You could have them on the books already for like May. I'm going to have the building ready for you by May. You're going to come and you're going to do a scrape and paint for me, or whatever it needs to be. And so the vinyl siding would be in your back pocket if it's worse than you think it is, because I'm seeing some of this, what I'm seeing is actually, once you get the paint off, it's in good shape.
Yeah.
But then there's also a lot of pieces that are split, like right here and here, and that are damaged. But anyway.
And like the back of the house will probably, like the entire back of the house will probably have to be like that. All of that looks a lot worse than.
Yes. And that's the south side. That's not unexpected. That's where it's going to look the worst. And that's the one thing that the commission has in the past allowed hardy board to be applied as a replacement siding when it's an entire side of a house. So not mixed in like it is here on the west side, but you could probably put hardy on that entire side of the house, and including where where the vinyl window is, and that would be fine. That's the part that takes the worst wear and tear, and the brutal sun, it comes from the south there. So anyway, it's up to the commission to make the decision on this. This house has gone through a lot. The fact that it's had people continually interested in it, even if they kind of got in a little bit deeper than they thought. I think it's worth saving. It's a good sound house. It's still standing for all its abuse. It's standing straight and true. You walk in there on the floors and it's pretty much even, which there's a house that I just went into the other day that had a 6-inch dip from the front to the back. So, you know, it's a good sound house. It's on a tight lot, but I think it's part of the fabric of the Vine neighborhood. And if there's a way to keep it, you know, I think it would be worthwhile. The commission has allowed some between 8 and 10 re-siding projects since I started in 2001. And almost everyone has been something like this, where there has been a long history of neglect, where windows have been turned into doors, where there was one that had 3 different siding materials on it that had all been done at different times. And just to make it look decent, it was better just to bring it all down to a simple vinyl siding. And now it looks very, very nice. So sometimes it's worth sacrificing the best in favor of a good job. You know, so I think it's going to be up to the commission. You guys have to decide this, but this, I'm 50-50 on this. This is your decision.
All right, thank you, Sharon. Any other questions, comments from commissioners?
I would just like to throw my heart out to you there, Aaron, because I have an old house myself, and you can't find anybody who wants to do it. And those of us that can do it don't want to do it either. So I'm doing it myself, and I've been doing it very slowly over the last 6 years, and it's painful and it's hard. And that's one of the reasons why people don't want to do it. But I'm definitely not a fan of vinyl. So, which is why I'm doing what I'm doing. But for what it's worth, keep up the good work, focus on the structural things, your porch and things. And if you're moving forward, they should lay off you for that as you're moving forward with your project. But I don't know. Sharon could advise you better on that.
Yeah, and I think partly too is when I was having conversation, it's that the risk of, I don't know, that's what people were saying, is like, it's not worth the risk of having like an EPA fine or something like that. Like that's really what they were telling me too.
Actually, the previous owner was fined by the EPA. They're nowhere near as frightening as you think. Sears gets into big trouble for doing it repeatedly, but most people, if you're doing it on the home that you own, it's unlikely if you use safe work practices, because he was fined because he was scraping it, power washing it, and not picking up any of the chips. So it's really a matter of technique. And anybody who's in painting now, if they're not already certified for lead safe work, they shouldn't be working on other people's houses. So. Do any of you commissioners, do you have any questions for me? Here. No.
All right, is there anybody willing to make a motion or other questions? We're not hearing anything.
Would I make a motion to deny if we weren't going to approve?
You can do either.
Yes.
I would, unfortunately, I would have to make a motion to deny. I live in the Vine, and I go by that house like 6 times a day, and been in the Vine for like 17 years, and I've seen it on its progress, and it's a heartbreaker, but I don't think that it would be, I don't think vinyl siding is the way to go. I think any of the other ones that we talked about would be a better route. And I think everyone's struggling to find contractors at this exact time. And if you could focus on doing the projects you can do, like the porch and the structure and getting the plan, I have a feeling that maybe things will be a little bit less tight in that arena, even a year from now. But I don't want to, I feel bad making a motion to deny because I see that you're working to making it better. But, having it sit there for the next 50 years with vinyl siding, I don't think that helps the neighborhood. So that's where I'm at on it. But I will make could you scroll up, Sharon, so I could read?
Right there. Yeah, it should be number 3 if you're denying. And I'd be based on Secretary of the Interior standards 1 through 6.
Yeah.
I had 9 and 10 on there, and those are not appropriate, but 1 through 6 are appropriate.
Oh, there it is. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, I had the same thing open on my browser, and I was scrolling on it. I'm going to make the motion to deny based on the Secretary standards 1 through 6.
Okay, thank you, Dan. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Oh, okay, Dana's got it.
Thank you, Dana. Is there any public comment?
There are no public comments at this time.
Okay, is there any further discussion the commissioners would like to have before we have a roll call vote?
Just want to encourage Aaron to hang in there, keep working on it. You will get there. Keep working on it. You're doing the right thing. So,
Okay, Casey, could we have a roll call vote, please?
Jeremy,
Yes.
John,
Yes.
Eric,
to deny, yes.
Dan,
Yes.
Dana,
Yes.
Andrew.
Yes.
Okay, so now, Aaron, you'll get a letter from me probably tomorrow. I'll write the letter that will outline what your options are for next steps. And I'm happy to meet with you. I mean, over the next couple weeks, I have lots of openings, especially if you can get a hold of that guy I recommended. And then maybe we can do a walkthrough. Keep in mind that if you wait to do it till next year, you'll be able to use the tax credit and it'll cost you less to do that exterior work.
Thanks. And thanks for the consideration. If anyone has any people that they would be willing to take on this project, I mean, that's what I really need. I mean, that's what it comes down to. I mean, I've called, I mean, that's the thing is like, I'm not going to touch the inside, I don't think, until I can get a grasp on who's going to do the outside, because there's no sense in you fix the outside first before you move to the inside from a waterproofing perspective. I put new drywall in there.
So I do have a suggestion, only I just had someone come out and look at my roof because I had moss growing on it, and they removed that for me. But Advantage Roofing, I don't know if you've called them, but I also have wood siding under aluminum siding, and I have some damage, and they are willing to work on mine. And so if you could, talk to them. I haven't gotten a quote or anything yet, but when they were out there, the same people that did the roof also do the wood siding portion, and they said, it was in their wheelhouse to do. So I would try them. There was a great company to work with for the roof, at least.
Okay. I think I did actually talk with them.
And if anybody has any other suggestions, send them to me and I'll forward them over to Aaron. If you have any, I know there's these secret contractors that nobody knows about that won't let me list them on my list. So if you've got anybody like that needs some work. Yeah. So,
All right, thank you.
thank you, Aaron.
All right, next on the agenda is approval of minutes from June 15th. I believe this is a meeting that I was not present at, so I will abstain. But is there a motion to approve the minutes from June 15th?
I'll make a motion to approve the minutes.
All right, thank you, Dan. Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Thank you, Dana. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. The minutes are approved. Administrative approvals, Sharon, anything to report?
Nothing. Numbers are still low. We're under 100 for the whole year, and there have been years in the past where we've been up to 400 by this point. But I think that we have a reason for that. So,
Sure.
Sharon, since we were talking about porches, what are the people on the north side of my block of Stewart, north and east side, the big Victorian, they're redoing the porch. What are they using?
I did not approve anything besides just our regular standard stuff.
Okay,
So as far as I know, it's a Rod O'Brien property.
right.
Oh, yeah. And apparently, the grandson is now taking over some of that supervision. So, yeah, I visited them and talked to them. So, and maybe I'll stop by and see how they're doing.
Sounds like a
Hey,
plan.
they're working on it. Yeah, it's a challenge, that curved
Yep.
porch. It's a challenge, but it's kind of interesting watching them work on it, how they're figuring that out.
Yeah, they had the underneath the porch, there were turn posts to support it. And they just took off the rotted part of the turn post and reset the post in a 5-gallon bucket
Bucket of cement, yeah.
full of concrete. And I asked him, I said, those are gonna go away. Yeah, we're gonna put the right sort of thing. Okay, I mean, it was a solution, but. not-
Right. No, I get it.
Yeah, not an elegant one.
All right, is there any other business that we need to discuss? All
I
right,
just want to mention that we will probably continue meeting virtually. Right now, it's looking like through the end of the year. Before the Delta variant popped up and got so nasty, we were looking at maybe just through September, but right now I think it's probably planning on the end of the year. And we may not have another live meeting before I retire, although I'm kind of pushing for that in December. If we could have at least one more live meeting, that'd be nice.
Okay, I hate to prolong the meeting, but I do have one more question from the neighborhood, which is, what is the status of the Stewart House?
It's being monitored very closely by the enforcement team. Marvila, she drives by like 2 or 3 times a week.
Okay,
I have actually spoken to the owner about it. And I have, I'm going to be talking to him again, probably over the next couple of weeks, talking to him again about it, because we are all very concerned.
okay,
So,
thank you.
I mean, the house is sound. I'm not worried that it's going to like fall down suddenly.
No,
There's
but-
nothing profound, but it's like watching that slow neglect is kind of painful.
Yep.
okay. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Thank you, Dana. Do we have a second?
I will second.
Thank you, Eric. Those in favor of adjournment? Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, we are adjourned at 6:13. Thank you, everyone, for your time today. Appreciate it.
Thank
See
you.
you next month.